Hello, it's the Mark Attwood Show, and it's Mark Attwood here. How you doing? I've got something on my nose. Ugh, that's better. Look at that. 5 detox spray. Isn't that a good idea? I think we've sold out of this, but in case you don't know, there's a website where we sell this stuff. Well, we don't sell it. We take donations because it's a private members association. There it is, live5dhealth.com/shop. That is our most popular product. I didn't even know that. Look, search by popularity. There's a bit of an interesting story here. If any of these things are sold out, they will be back, but it's going to be at least 6 weeks for reasons that I can't tell you about at the moment. But when I do tell you about them, you will pop a clog. You'll have steam coming out of your ears. You won't believe the story, but well, actually, you will, because you're subscribed to this channel. So there's a lot of unbelievable stuff goes on here. Now, about a week ago, I got an email from the lovely Nick from what was the name of that thing? I did a talk in the Lake District a couple of years ago. It was called WTF Festival, something like that. Anyway, Nick's a lovely woman, and she said, you need to speak to this guy, Andy. So here I am. Hi, Andy. Come on, add to the stage. There we go. That was so smooth, but the button didn't work.
This is one of the reasons why I've never done a live yet, to be fair. Because it's, as they say, it's the live glitch as such. But thanks for the welcome. Appreciate the time as well for being able to give you my side of what's going on at the moment.
That's my pleasure. You're welcome. And what do you want to talk to us about, Andy?
Well, I mean, obviously you mentioned Nick. It is the WTF, but it's known as the Weekend Truth Festival. I'm going to be speaking there, but we have actually changed. It's not Carlisle anymore. It's going to be Chirk Air Hanger this year down in Wales.
Oh, it's going to be indoors, because last time I did it, it was wellies in the rain.
It's going to still be a little bit of that, but it's near the. It's basically it's on the land, same as the Chirk Air Hanger. So that's the farmland that we've got there. So it's a great setup, new venue, and some new faces like myself and a couple of others that are popping on there as well. So it should be quite enthralling, so we say. But no, I mean, obviously, I've spoken to her for about the last year. To be fair, Nick has been quite a good advocate and helping with a lot of research. You know, I think you sort of meet somebody and then you find out you met them for a reason as such, you know. And she certainly helped me. Because, well, if you know her very well, you'll know that one, she doesn't really sleep very much, which is neither me either. So we end up bouncing ideas off each other, and next thing you know, you just end up in a completely different loop. And by doing so, we've ended up in a loop where a lot of people are unaware of obviously what's going on, particularly in the schools as we know it today. And obviously are strong, and you spoke to a lot of people about the EMF and the electromagnetics of things. A lot of people forget we are electromagnetic bodies, you know, and that's where.
Hence this magnet here.
Yeah.
Hence the magnets here. Hence the healing sensor with all sorts of magnetic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, we never get taught it. You know, you think you've gone through the whole through of all your school, your junior school, senior school, then college, university, whatever it is, and there's not one person turns on that explains this is what you are.
Yeah.
But then we're going to start to wonder, well, why? Why is nobody mentioning this? Obviously, and it only really started to sort of was when the defibrillators all started going everywhere. Because I'm like, and then it sort of starts to click, and obviously you see the pulses on all the films where people are going boop 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 boop, and then obviously it's like flat lines and it's gone. And what do they go and pick up? Defibrillator. Poof. You got the big charge, and you vaulted back to life, and you're like, that makes more sense than anything we really had before, you know.
One of them, isn't it?
It is. You sit there like, I think it's been staring you right in the face, but we've never, because you've never been taught it, you just sort of brushed it off, and then we get to drill down our faces with flesh and blood, and it's so that's the end of it. And obviously we forget our brain's got electrical pulses, our heart, obviously our lungs, you know, everything, the nervous system. So as you're fully on board with the natural side of things, and we know that that is the way that everything is, whatever you put in your body naturally, it's going to be far better than anything that you put in synthetically. And it's the same with EMFs. Now, the research has then taken me back to, I'd gone all the way back to then come all the way forwards as well, if you understand what I mean. I went through the Spanish flu and all those, but which every time there's an RF and an EMF upgrade, we tend to have a massive pandemic, sorry. You know, so you had, but you've got like the Spanish flu, you had the Russian flu, you had the Hong Kong flu. Then obviously as I say, you got SARS, H1N1, H5N1, and all running alongside every upgrade of these technology that we get.
What about the Black Death?
I haven't gone and
Oh, well, no, it
researched
just
on that.
popped into my head. I was
It
like,
did it. I haven't.
Hmm.
I would guarantee at the time there was something that happened.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely it just seems to be the pattern. You know, when I'm sitting there and I do talk to AI a lot, that's where I got my research from. And if anybody watches, they'll see that my grammar is not as good as what AI's is. So I'm not putting this information on there. It's the answers that I'm being given. And the thing is, sometimes you'll see I'll probe it, and it'll come back and give me the synthetic answer as such. You know, this is the mainstream. Don't go away from that. And then you turn on and tell it, look, you're full of it. And it'll go, actually, you're right to push back on that. And then it starts to give you the information. You're sitting there going, so if anybody just takes the very first answer, that's their belief. That's all they're going to know. They're never going to probe it any further because they believe, well, that's what it says, so there's no more to know. However, pushing it and giving it that little bit more of a dig in the ribs, it comes back and it starts to open up and give you the information that you don't get at the very first push. And I think if anybody's using AI, that's the one thing that you should really take going forwards. Don't just take the first generic answer, because there is other ones there once you start to dig, or you've got to ask the right question. I mean, even like the EMFs, you've got to look back at. I mean, I found out the other day that the World Health Organization, in 1996, they created the EMF, the WHO EMF project. Do you know who funds it? The telecommunications companies.
Mm.
So they set the guidelines. This is before 2G even came onto the system. So the guidelines were set on 1G. We've now had an increase of EMFs via 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Obviously, all the Wi-Fi mix, which we're getting left, right, and centre. Then obviously everyone's getting smart meters thrown into their homes. You've got the electric cars, and we don't see the bigger picture. Like I'm trying to explain, nobody knows the sunburnt until you're actually, until someone touches you on the shoulder or something, and you're like, oh God, get the sun cream. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. But you don't feel the initial burn. No. And the only reason why you know on the outside is because, as you say, you either put a t-shirt on and you can feel it, or you have to put the lotion on. Now, if you can see internally what's going on with your body, and you can see what was physically attacking your nervous system, your brain, your heart, there's no way in the world you'd freak out. To be fair, that's the whole point. Because we can't see internally, and then people think about the ECG. That's an electrical pulse. If you didn't have a pulse, then it wouldn't work. So it needs the electric run through your body, and this is where as I say, we forget. You get jump start. You got the ECG. You got the EEG, which is for the brain scan. Again, it checks electrical pulses. So we never told any of this. You go all the way through your whole of your life, all the way through your school. I got nearly 50-year-old before I realised and sort of put two and two together. And then you start thinking, okay, well, if that's an electromagnetic field that we are, all these other fields that are running around us, because it's synthetic, and also that it's on wavelengths that disrupt our cells on a cellular level. And this is the worrying thing, because they closed all the schools down over COVID. We're fully aware of that. And they made an excuse that all of these buildings all started crumbling at the same time. It's like, wow. And then we found all this money that we didn't have for feeding the homeless or housing the homeless, but, we can go and re-educate and rebuild all these systems. And what people aren't aware of is that over 10,000 schools are currently in the process where they've already done the installation of the new Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. The activation's coming and I mean imminently. They've actually started they're putting the installation from the beginning of March. So March, April, and May is the final month for the installations.
This is in the UK, yeah?
It's worldwide.
Worldwide, okay.
Worldwide. So this is a bizarre thing. Everybody looks at the politicians and thinks, they're making the rules and everything else. It's not. They've never made a law. They signed the paper to say the law's going in place. But it's the people behind that. All these laws passed, and they passed in Canada, USA, as I say, across the whole of Europe. they're not passed by our individual politician. They're not made by individual politician. You don't get the grant to turn around and say, right, we're going to go and put stuff over here, because they'll be like, no, you're not. Do you know what I mean? Unless the people behind them are all part of the same group. And that's where we're all missing the link. People are waving this flag for this guy, waving this flag for this guy. Them guys aren't controlling anything. All they're doing is controlling the way things are put across to us. And that is all they control, nothing more. But as I say, these EMF soups, it's the amount of things, and on one of my pages on the website, I've actually got a list from the computer, which I've turned on and said, what kind of things would it do to affect the children? Because they've got thinner skins, because they've got thinner skulls, it affects them far more than what we have. So
where shall I go on this website to show people?
If we're looking at if you go to the top right hand corner, you see the little bar, and then if you go to the exposing EMF and RF hidden truths, and then this here. So this is the other thing: the World Health Organization, the National Institute for Health, the NHS, as it states on there, the Departments of Health across all the world have created a code called ICD-W90. That specifically is EMF, or as they call it, EHS, which is electro-hypersensitivity syndrome. So it's EHS. So they've got a code for it, but yet they're telling you, oh, it doesn't exist. And you're like, what? How can you have a code for something that doesn't physically exist? It's beyond ridiculous. So therefore, obviously, I went further on, started to look through, and what it does is actually exposes how the different parts of the body are affected. And obviously, you can see there, the main things are the brain, the skin, the lungs, the heart, the gut, the hormones, everything that's got the electrical pulses in. That's what comes from the effect. And then obviously, when you're sitting there, I've asked it to go from mild to severe, and then it starts to literally give you the list on, again, I've gone from the brain, the central nervous system, all the way through. So what it does is actually puts what the type of EMF will do, but however, it's what the doctors will diagnose underneath. So you might think, I've got a headache, I've got head pressure and things like that, but underneath is what the doctors will diagnose you have. So they'll say you've either got depression, adjustment, it even counts for chronic fatigue syndrome, you've got ME, it's even got fibromyalgia. And obviously the more EMFs that we've added since 1996, I mean, let's face it, I know more people now with fibromyalgia.
Yeah, it didn't exist 20 years, did it?
No, and this is, as we're adding more of these fields in, and it's affecting people in different ways. ADHD, as you can see there, the age pattern, so for the child, ADHD, behavioural problems. So we're labeling children as being bad or having this or having that, when in actual fact, the sparks being happening because of the EMFs exposing their brains, pinging them at and what people don't understand is these things that are coming and being emitted, because we don't see them, they literally are hitting us at rates of like 1 million to 1 billion times a second. 1 billion times a second. And we don't see it. You don't feel it. You sat there now, you're surrounded by it, you don't feel it. However, on the inside, that's where it's slowly affecting us. That's where it's starting to damage us. And that's where all this information comes into it.
Well, I've got 2 teenage boys who are still at school, and they've had the option to leave for the last 6 years. But whenever they come home, they're straight to sleep, when they do go in. And I know what it is. Fortunately, I have lots of orgonite and stuff. This house is a haven. Everything's harmonized here.
Perfect.
So they get to rest here.
Yeah.
I hate sending them in, but they've not got long left. But all their friends are ill.
And this is the main issue. And the thing is, they're either ill or they're getting labelled as something that they're not.
That's what I mean.
That's out of their
ADHD,
control.
Tiredness, all the stuff I just read there. I can tell you names of all the kids that have got all of those things.
100%, and I'm exactly the same boat.
It's normalised.
Because let's face it. When we went to school, how many people did you know that had ADHD? How many people did you know that, as I say, that or of the teacher age, fibromyalgia?
I'll do this, but somebody will take a screenshot of this and say I'm Illuminati. Zero.
But it's the truth, And this thing is, I suppose, the knowledge that the previous generation tends to get lost on being passed down to the next one, and we never really asked the last generation what happened that created their sort of disruption to what happened with ourselves, and then what for us to then pass on to our next generation, saying, look, this wasn't a thing. You know, it just wasn't. I mean, how many times now when you walk into a supermarket and they'll turn around and say, oh, this is the healthy section. All right, so what's the rest of it then? If that's the healthy section, what is the rest of it all around us? It's all the unhealthy section that they're telling you without even telling you. I mean, I was brought up in a family shop. So, you know, we had a little corner shop, and, you know, we had like the boiled sweets and, you know, like the custard, rhubarb and custards and strawberry creams and all that kind of stuff. But we also had like the fresh fruit and veg. And guess what? We had no plastic wrappers in sight. And everything was organic. There was no such thing as a genetically modified plant. And why did they genetically modify them? Because then they can turn around and patent it. Once they patent it, that's it. They can grow once, and the farmer turns around and has to go back to them and buy the seeds the following year. We're literally getting screwed on every single level and not realise that that's the case.
It's even more than that, because they are genetically modified to poison us and change our genetics as well.
Well, I also laugh at the situation with, it's not laugh because it's not funny, but how they're using Africa and saying, you know, we're helping them, we're giving them this, but they're giving them genetically modified seals that they're contracted. And they're contracted.
Let me tell you a story. I moved to Marrakesh in 2014, and I went to the markets, and I was like, wow, look at all this fresh produce, right? And I was like amazed that they were all eating all this fresh produce. And then as I settled in, I built a permaculture garden, right?
Yeah.
And then, so we did all of that, got the horse manure, blah, 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 and then went down to the markets to get the seeds. And every bloody seed was Monsanto. I couldn't believe it.
It's a huge issue. And this is what people aren't seeing, because it's not right in front of our faces. We go to the supermarket. I mean, you got to laugh. We got told about you've got to reduce plastic. I don't produce plastic, do you?
No.
No. So the people who are producing the plastic are telling us that we should stay at home, we shouldn't travel, we should also, you know, be greener. And you're like, mate, you could quite easily use hemp plastic, which is 100% recyclable, biodegradable, not bad for the planet. But why do we use that? Because it's petrochemicals. And we all know who owns the petrochemicals and how many products that they have that has gone into our bodies, around our bodies. Everything that we've got made as plastic now could be made of hemp. Everything.
Or mushrooms even.
Yeah, it's anything plant-based can be produced in that manner. And yet we're being sort of led to believe and dumbed down that they have the only answer, and we can't have that because you're just a normal bloke who's sitting there. I can't read and I can't write. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, exactly. Which is what it is in a nutshell. And that's why, as I say, you know, this sort of thing with the EMF really has sort of got to it, because at the moment, because they're about to activate it, and what we've now legally found out is the only people who can stop it, and I would love to say I can stop all 10,000 schools, or even worldwide. I would love to say that is a possibility, and it potentially it is. Every parent, every grandparent legally has the right to turn around and send those 8 letters to the schools. And if they're sent to the schools have to come back. Now, the funny thing is, there's a big, massive insurance company. Have you heard of Lloyd's of London?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They don't insure for schools for EMF or RF exposure.
Of course not.
And there's also been no tests long-term that prove that the EMF is toxic for children. So this is why the letters going in, there's 4 for the schools, for the parent to send into the individual school. Then there's 1 for the counsellor, 1 for the Department of Education, Department of Health, and also the governors and chancellors. So when sending all those in, the maximum day you'd have to wait is 15 days. So this is literally all the documents. So the first 4 is for parents and grandparents. And I've made it so literally people can go onto the page, they can copy it, paste it straight into their own email. They just change the name, change the name of the child and theirs at the bottom, send. And it also includes every study that goes against the EMF and obviously what's happened.
Right, so I've got a question for you.
Certainly.
How many letters does it take per school to have an effect?
I would like to say 1, but really, if you can get 5 parents or 5 grandparents that are concerned, I mean, let's be honest. If your child came back from school and they'd been slapped around the head, every parent would be down there straight away to go absolutely crazy. Now, this is worse than being slapped around the head.
Yeah, because do you know what the problem is?
Yeah.
they don't. One, they don't believe it. Two,
Yeah.
they don't give a shit.
Well, you've got to ask yourself a question. If there was no harm to it, why have they hidden the installation? Why
Well,
have
I know.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just that I've got experience of other parents with school.
Yeah.
If they can't see it, they don't believe it.
I can understand that, but I mean, you can't see the rays from the sunshine when you stood unless you turn around and look at your shadow.
No, I know all this.
Do you know what I mean?
What the reason I'm bringing that up is so that people watching this, the reason I wanted Andy on is not because he's been a doom merchant or fear. He's got solutions, right? And
Yeah.
this is what I love about what you're doing. And that link is on the screen for you guys. I'm gonna put it below the video as well. Your job as a viewer of this, if you understand what Andy's talking about, is to think of every other parent or any parent that you know has got a kid going to school anywhere in the world. Send them this video, send them these links, get together with them, and make them do it.
100%. You know, and the thing is, one letter can pause it, and this is the thing.
That's what I mean. That's what,
one letter can absolutely pause it, but obviously that's why you send all four. So the first four are literally directly to the school, and the school has 5 days to respond. That's it. They've got 5 working days. The next batch of 3 after those 4 are the ones that are going to go to the councillor, the governors, and they've got 10 days. And then the final one is the Department of Education. If they then go ahead and activate it, you can actually then still get it paused or stopped. And that means we can then take a court case. And the one thing that they don't want to do is have a group of parents then go and take a court. Because the thing is, if this gets activated and children start getting sick, what are we going to do? Turn around and say, oh, well, I knew it was coming, but I didn't want to send a letter in. That was already done for me. I mean, it's crazy. And if I'm wrong, so be it. What's the worst that can happen?
No, exactly. That's the point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the issue is, I know I'm not wrong, because as I say, why are they hiding it? Why is the schools not covering for insurance? Why has there been no testing? Why is there no risk assessments? All the information on those letters, which turn on and point out every single study for the EMF, the RF frequencies, which is done by the World Health Organization, ICRNP. So these aren't Muppets. It's not just me sat in my thing going, oh yeah, why can't I do this? These are proper degree people who sat there. Some of them have been Lancet reports. So, you know, they're all there that people can literally go in. You can even copy and paste. If you don't believe me, best thing to do, copy and paste each segment, put it into AI and say, tell me about this.
Right.
And learn, you know.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. But the question I think people are going to be asking is, how can I prove that this is happening in my local school? What would I have to search for?
It's happening in all schools. Every school across the UK, over 10,000 schools, is currently being installed as we speak. The installation date was from March until the end of May. So that's installation.
Where's the source for that information?
That's what I've had to dig and delve for quite some time. That's been me, and I've had to literally argue with AI to turn around. And because the contracts, because the contracts are hidden. That's the thing. Why aren't the contracts there for you to see? Why aren't you being told? And everybody knows that they're all having updates, but even the teachers aren't being told. And I'm now working on letters for the teachers also, so they can because they've also got work in the health place, so the Health and Safety Act 1974, so they can also use, because they don't know, and especially if any of these have got any implants or pacemakers and stuff, that can affect them. You know, so you might be walking into school one day, and next thing you know, I mean, let's face it, the last time when we saw the other variant that came out at the same time that 5G came out, we were seeing 8-year-olds drop down dead of heart attacks. There was the African Cup. There was 4 footballers in the same tournament dropped down dead on the pitch. And you're sitting there going, this isn't normal. Like, you know, they're the fit. I played ice hockey for over 20 years. Over 20 years, from the age of 10, growing all the way up. I never saw, and bear in mind, as I say, my parents, we had 3 ice rinks, or 3 hockey teams. And I never saw one child, not one, across the whole time. And bear in mind, hockey's probably a bit of a, you know, it's quite an athletic sport. You know,
I played football for 15 years as a kid. Nothing.
Yeah, and this is it. I mean, we got to play all around the world. I wasn't hearing about this. I mean, after the last era, I saw 16-year-olds over in Canada. They were actually, one of the players had dropped down and died on the ice. And then the week after, they did a tribunal game, a tribute game for him. Another 17-year-old dropped down dead. And I'm like, 2 within a week in the same sort of area when this is all being rolled out. People can say whatever they want to say. The difference being is we can't prove. If I could physically go out and prove, if I could get the next generation of scientists, the next uncorrupted variants, and say, right, we've got 20, I would guarantee all this information could be proven factually and within 5 years. The issue is the people that control the science and control the medical industry, control the World Health Organization, they don't want this information out. If they did, why aren't you taught it in school? Why aren't you taught we're electrical beings? Why aren't you taught this would hurt, that would hurt? If you're electromagnetic and then you've got synthetic electromagnetics being forced into the field, it's going to tell you that they're going to cross-section at some point. And because they're cross-sectioned, this is why we're seeing so many different variable, as you say, increased in things that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago, that now is everywhere, like everywhere. It just makes you sick.
Literally, on every level.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, though. I mean, even if what I like about this initiative is it's preemptive, right? So my audience understands the problem.
Yeah.
You have a solution. You guys watching, implement it, please.
And this is the thing. The other thing I would like to say is, look, if because we need to start recording successes here. This is where the sort of area that we sit in. We don't tend to record our successes very well. We don't advertise our successes very well. And when people start to turn on, if they get a deactivation in their school, then please send an email to the website. Tell us, let us know. Send an email to yourself. Let's keep these wins going, because let's be honest with you, if you find out that other schools haven't adopted or have gone ahead with it, and they started having issues with the children or the teachers within that area, and you've managed to stop that in your own school or your child's school, you know, you're going to thank your lucky stars that that's what's gone on. So they're what we need to document. That's what we need to make sure. And as I say, everything I've got on there is researchable. Everything I've got on there is you can literally go in, Google yourself, put it on, copy and paste it. You know, I've had to do all, I'm not going to say I've done all the hard work, but I've done the work to make it as easy as possible for parents to be able to do. It's a copy and paste. You're literally going to just edit where it says head teacher, put the head teacher's name in. You're going to take out where it says parent and child's name. You're going to put your name, the child's name, and you're going to go to the school, the email, and press send. I mean, we can't make it any clearer or any better for someone to go and do that. And as I say, it's 8 letters. It may take you, 10 minutes while you sat with a cuppa?
And what about this idea? What about getting the kids together and giving them a 20-minute seminar on this problem? Because this is one of the things I do when my kids' mates come round. Yeah. I'll grab them for 10 minutes and I'll pick a subject and I'll school them. And what's happened, and this is the good thing about what you're doing as well, because eventually the kids go, what happens here is the kids will say, well, ask Mark, he knows what's going on. And that's a really powerful position to be in. When
it's fantastic.
Because we want the kids to know, and we want the kids to have things like Organite on their phone. There's this pendant that we produced, which we've proven makes you stronger against EMF and Bluetooth. And that's
it. The amount of stuff. When you look around now, you got, as I say, you got your Bluetooth blinking headsets. You got and we don't even realize this is the harm that it's doing. Now, whether it's doing it today, it doesn't mean it isn't doing it over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. These things are all new, and the one thing you look at is if they're not tested for this. We are literally guinea pigs.
Well, that's the thing. I told my kids 6 years ago, you're going to see people dropping dead in a few years. And that's why I created this, because this gets rid of the vaccine.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, and it's sad. They come to me, you were right, Dad. They are. Look at that. The funeral every day here. It's crazy.
It's and the thing is, it's it's sick because the people who are creating this fully understand and they fully know it.
Yeah.
It's not a case of they don't know. They are the leaders of this, which is why they've created groups to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. You know, the telecommunications, why are they funding the World Health Organization EMF project? And people can go and Google it. 1996, it's exactly what happened. The telecommunications brought that in and smashed it out the park. You then also got, which I do, it's not funny, but you know, you got everybody at the moment talking about the digital ID. And they're sitting there, they're waving flags, they're saying, you're not going to do this. And when then seeing that the kids are having their fingerprints taken in school, they're having their palm prints taken in school, they're having their facial recognition taken. A lot of the parents aren't aware as well. Do you know these apps that they put on you need this for your homework, or the parents need this to pay their dinner money and stuff like this? I don't know if you have it at the schools that you're in.
Well, I don't. We don't partake. Let's put it that way. And I remember when they brought in the biometric stuff when I was living in Cheshire in about 2012, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, we refused to partake in that, and that's one of the reasons I left the country.
Well, the bizarre thing is you can actually opt out of all of them as well. I've got a biometrics opt-out letters on my website as well, where people can literally go on there, they can opt out of that, and also the apps, because a lot of the parents will not know. Remember when we had lockdown? Okay, now a lot of people, the schools provided a laptop, and if they didn't provide a laptop so they could do the homework, then they had to put them on their own personal laptop or their own personal computers. Well, you've then also allowed them to access the whole of your cloud.
Yeah.
Now, if that's a works computer, that means that they've also been able to access any invoice, any personal data. If you've downloaded the app to your phone, they can actually activate a camera roll, your video roll, and they can also. Do you know what the two colours are on the top of your? I'm colourblind, you see, so I think one's yellow, one's orange. The two dots on the mobile phone.
Let's have a look.
You normally get them right next to where the Wi-Fi signal is, or the 4G thing. But if you use an app, it'll tend to pop up with one of these two different colours.
Yeah, mine's
and one is that microphone, and one is the video, the camera. Every app you're allowing to access that. Now, if you think that a lot of people because when we had lockdown, people were sending their kids upstairs, they were doing the homework, whatever, on the laptops, on the school laptop. They generally had a camera because you could see them talking to the teacher or whatever when they were doing these lessons. But what you don't realise is while they got that laptop open, even if it's on a homework page, like say a math segment, now you shout up and say, right, it's time for you to get ready for the bed or get ready for the bath. That camera's not stopped running.
Yeah.
And they've had access to that. So what basically I've given people the power to is to basically, one, stop the apps altogether, also to stop the biometrics, so therefore the school cannot penalise the child. They'll just have to give them a different set of, maybe a card or whatever to use. And for the apps themselves, they'll have to come up with a different scenario. They can't penalise the parent and they can't penalise the child. However, the amount of things that have been, some of the things that have been taken from these, that's where you've got it there. So fingerprints to face scans, and some of the schools have now started to do the palm scans. Well, why do they need your palm? Why do they need you? And the one thing is, your palm doesn't change, your fingerprints don't change, and their faces won't change. We've basically just given away our child's identity. And unfortunately, if you look on one of the other pages, I've actually found that, and I've shown I found 10, but I could have gone on and found 300 breaches of the data from the schools and their apps already. And one of them was quite sick because it was actually, let me have a look, I think it is...
Which page should I be on, Andy?
To have a check the school data breach list. I think that might blow your mind a little bit. Excuse me. So this basically just like explain it to think people, so people can understand what the page is about. So that one there, as you see there, Seesaw. It explains the breaches. Now, if you want to have a little read of that, you can actually see what happened was basically there was a breach. The school ignored it and said that there wasn't a breach. Now, bear in mind, that means they had their parents' phones, the children's phones. If you read the fourth line down, the one that you can see the one that I've sort of, I think it's purple, I've made it, because I'm colourblind. I just try to make it different than white. But it's saying what that was sent directly to parents and children. The explicit images. This was the hackers to prove that they'd got their data, which the school had said, you haven't got them. Well, then they proved it,
Yeah.
and these are children that were getting sent these images. Then you've got that one which had over 45 million students data leaked, 13,000 school districts, and that's across the United States, again, Canada, and many country users, Power School, SIS protocol. So what I try to do is put a mix on there for people who had different variants. Again, further down you see it's actually got over 70 million records. So when they're saying, go digital, your child's data has been nicked already. It's been stolen, and because we're too busy consumed by our own digital ID, we're forgetting that actually the children are the ones that we should be trying to get back and take them away. And then obviously, again, another one there, 30 million users, over 70 plus countries. We're in there as well, which is the UK. And there's one, I think it was OpenReach, Open AI, who basically stole 3.5 billion people's data. So everybody's Facebook, everybody's socials, your data's been nicked. You know, it's sick that we've got these kind of people in place. But the ones who are doing this are also the ones who control it. Why have we... Because you can't tell me they can't make an app that can't be hacked by these hackers.
It's very simple. We pay taxes to satanic paedophiles, and those satanic paedophiles run the schools, the government, the fucking police, everything.
Do you know, as I say, 6 years ago, I'd have turned around and I did. You know, this is where...
You'd have thought I was a nutter 6 years ago, wouldn't you?
But the thing is, I had people who were close to me, who I turned around point blank. I said, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're a tinfoil hat," because that is what we have been given as a response. But then I also looked into how I don't like calling them elites, because they're absolutely not. But that category of people, and what they do is they invert our language. Now, do you know where the word conspiracy comes from? It's actually from the Latin, which means conspiratio, like a spell. And conspiratio actually means an agreement of breath. So if you're speaking in one term, like the media, the politicians, the bankers, and everyone's writing these contracts, and they're telling you, actually, it's conspiracy. What they're doing is saying that they agree with you, but they're going to allow you to look at the Oxford English Dictionary version so you can dismiss it yourself, because they actually never ever dismiss things with facts. All they do is they give you the word, and this is what I've had to get my head around, and that's how I've sort of come full loop, maybe a little bit quicker than what some have, because I've really digged and delved in so many different areas and I've unwrapped a lot of the Latin. I actually went in this to try and save people money on their bills, to be quite honest, to do the Bill of Exchange Act, and then it just really went full circle. And as I said, once something where you find quite passionate, where, you know, I've got relatives that I go to school, your college, university. I think I'm going to go and send them and find out this could happen and stay quiet and go, well, I actually knew this was coming. You know, so the bizarre thing is, I'm in a state where I'm saying something that hasn't happened. It may not happen until June. It might not happen until September. All I can say is it's coming in. Activation has not physically happened yet. Now, when it does, and they tend to do it in clusters, and this is what I have learned. So they tend to do it in clusters of between 50 to 300 schools at a time. And they've got various plots. Now, they won't tell me what these plots are, because, again, it's all hidden contracts, and I've tried to find out. Honestly, if you ask Nick, I've spent thousands of hours trying to find out where these are coming from, and it's just all hidden. It's literally hidden to the point where, and the thing is, if we don't know, the kids don't know, and they're only going to know what we tell them. So if we don't tell them, and we don't educate them, and this is what's happening, we don't know ourselves, then I'm just giving people a little bit of tools out there to do their own research. By all means, turn on, don't take my word for it. Don't look at the letters, take each point out, put it into AI, and if you can spend an hour to just literally do that and look at the research that the proper scientists have had, some of them are on the Lancet, the World Health Organization project, they actually turned around and in 2011, the World Health Organization, I think it's the ICNRP, it actually categorized EMF as a type 2B carcinogen. So they said it creates cancer. Well, what we're having an increase of at the moment. Every man and the dog's got it. I mean, it's literally, you know, when I was younger, like yourself, I think it was about 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 people were dying of cancer. We were like lemmings. We'd have accidents. We'd have accidents. You'd hear about somebody who fell off a ladder or fell into a bridge or something. But that's how people really died, or they died in their sleep, old age. And that was when they were 80, 90. We're now being allowed to believe that, we're the oldest we've ever been at 1775. And you're like, well, you know, people are just finishing work then. But this is the thing. But because we're not letting the kids know, look, this isn't. These people who are telling you this are the ones ramming it down your throat via social media. They own social media. They own the media. They own the radio stations. They own the TV. So they're in a position where they're able to ram all this down. And all we've got is being able to pass knowledge between ourselves. And that is all we can do. And as I say, don't take my word for it. I would advise not to. Go on there, take each little segment out, put it into yourself, and then if you think, you know what, the guy's probably got a point here, do you really want to run the risk? Because if not, you can stop it. And that's a simple fact. You as a parent, you as a grandparent are the only ones that can legally stop it. The teachers, you have a right via the Health and Safety Act 1974 and a few others. I'm working on your letters as I speak. I'll have them done by probably tonight. They'll be on the website. Again, I'll have it letters for teachers. I'll try and keep your website quite straightforward so people know where to go to. And again, I'll have it all editable so you can literally go on there, put the details in, send it in. And the thing is, they cannot discriminate you at work because you sent this in. This is a safety concern, not just for you, your teachers, your colleagues, but also, as I say, you've gone into school to educate. I'm not saying that you are bad people. You don't know. If you did know, I guarantee you'd all be up in arms yourselves because you really want to have this new technology put into the schools. And are you really going to school every day to damage the children that you've got to teach? I don't believe that for a second. But now you know this information. If you don't act on it, you know, or even do the research yourself, if you're a teacher, go in there, look at my data, go into the AI, check for yourselves, and then start to basically work this because we're the only people that can stop it. The contracts have already been done by the telecommunications. They're not going to stop it. The councillors are already bought. That's why everything's landlocked, everything's corporatised, so they can't really stop it. But the only people that can stop it literally is us. And as I say, we've got a legal foothold here where we can get in it. And if they activate it without all these safety risks and everything else that have been done, we've then got the legal power to then really go to town on them. And we don't want to take it because I don't want to see a school go bankrupt, but I don't want to see children hurt more. do you know that's the main thing. But it is all about, as I say, the protection's there, the information's there, and yes, it may come across a little bit boring. As I said, I'm not here. I've had to do this all. I've designed the website myself, I've done the letters myself, I've done the videos myself. I didn't plan on being a YouTuber. I didn't plan on coming down this line of where I've got to today. It sort of fell on me. But I know that my job is to make sure I can get this information out, make it as clean as possible so people can understand it in a way that they can come to the right terms. And everything is basically researchable. So they can click on, as I say, copy it, paste it, move it across, paste it back onto the AI and turn on and say, tell me more about this. And you can do that for every segment that I've put in there. And, you know, if that starts to turn on and make you tweak a little bit, then maybe those letters are definitely worthwhile sending in. And as I say, you're the only ones who can do it for your individual school. I can't blanket sell 10,000. It has to be every individual parent, every individual grandparent. And as you say, if you can get a group of you, 5 or more, you're really hitting the nail on the head. And if you've got friends, let's face it, most of you have got friends who've got kids in the same school. And if they're not even in the same school, you've got neighbours who might go to a different school, but you live next door. Did you know about this? Because let's be honest with you, you don't want to see that. If they're playing with your kids, you don't want to turn on and see them hurt either. You know, it's about sharing this. And as you say, with your page, being able to get it out there, this is fantastic. You know, it's not. And the thing is, I've not charged for anything. The letters are there for everybody to print off and do. You know, I'm not turn on and say it because I know how important it is. I've had people turn and say, well, why don't you do it? And I'm like, well, no. Because there are going to be certain people that are not in a position to be able to do that, and they're no less important to be able to send them letters in.
Absolutely.
And
but
that's what it boils down to.
Maybe some people could donate and thank you for your work. I'd certainly do that. But you guys watching, right? I got locked out of Facebook 4 years ago. So this is what you do. If you find this video is important and resonates and you've got a Facebook account, because that will reach a lot of people, just go to Google and type in YT downloader. Choose one of these, put the URL of the video in, download the video low res, and then upload it to your Facebook page with all of Andy's links, which I'll put underneath this video. Sorry, Andy, you were going to say something.
That's perfect. As I say, you know, I'm not the polished, finished article, let's say, you know. I'm a bit rough around the edges. Well, this is the thing.
I'm rough around the edges. Who gives a shit?
No, that's what I like. That's what I like, you know. And the thing is, I think when you end up being that point, you can be as straight as a die and you're sort of thinking, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. And that's what this boils down to. Yeah. I know what they're doing is wrong. And if I can do anything that's going to turn around and basically help people to be able to protect their own, that's all I want to see happen. And as I say, there's a few different variants. You've got the biometrics, where as I say, you can opt out of that. That's a clean letter, done and dusted. They do that within 24 hours. You then got the apps. You can literally delete those. You can then obviously email the school and turn on and saying, look, you need to find an alternative. I'm not going to do this. You also didn't tell me about all the data sharing and everything else. I'm currently in the process with a guy called Robin Hood, and he's going to help me create a SAR. And what we're going to do is, so then people, because if you turn around and send a subject access request into your school, I guarantee you're going to freak out when you find out who knows what on your child.
How do we do that?
The SAR's going to go on probably by Monday. And then once that subject access request letter is done, you can literally send that to your school. The school will then have to give you every single person that's had access to that app. And then what you then do is, once they send back all the vendors, the sub-processor and all of these other people who got access, you can then individually send to those companies. And as I said, those are the companies who've had access, because the schools don't, I'll be clear on this, the schools don't have access to your camera roll. The schools don't have access to your videos. The schools don't have access to the other parts in your app or your phone that you may not want everybody else to know. And not because you've got anything on there that you want to hide, but you download stuff for you, not for every Tom, Dick and Harry. So therefore, these are going to find out when the school sends back the list, and you'll be able to send off to each one of them vendors and find out. And I think people are going to be a little bit surprised about their camera rolls being taken, their video rolls being taken. And I'm going to create the letter so people can literally just type in the vendor name, type in their name, because they'll get a code or whatever from the school. And then once you send that in, they have to, within 28 days, send you all the information that they've taken or shared with other vendors. And I think you're going to find that potentially there's up to 199 different companies that have accessed. And that's where, you think I've just downloaded the Dinner Money app and all these people have now nicked all your stuff and you've not got a clue.
When you bring that out, send it to me. I'll put it out on the social medias. And
perfect.
Guys, you're watching this. This is good to know in advance. If it doesn't come true, who cares? If it does, you've done something about it. That's what we want.
100%. Well, as I say, the installations are being done. That's a fact. It was started in March and it's going to end at the end of this month. The installation is finished. The activation is what's due to happen. And they're saying that the activation state is going to happen anywhere between June and September. So clusters are going to be switched on within that period of time. Okay. All I'm going to do is ask you for each parent, if you don't want your child's school or your grandparent and you don't want your grandchild's school to be activated, and you want to make sure that the risk assessment's been done, the tests have been done, and if they can't prove it, why would you not want that? At the end of the day, all you're asking for is the evidence. The 4 letters or the 8 letters combined are asking for evidence. All we're asking for is that you can prove my child's safety or my grandchild's safety going into your premises. And if they can't prove that and the risk assessments haven't been done, well, why would you want to allow them to go and do that? And that's the biggest thing.
Couldn't say it clearer. Couldn't say it louder. Andy, it's been great having you on. Thank you for your work. And you guys watching, you know what to do. I'm going to put links to all Andy's websites, everything below. Take action on this, share it, and come back and update me when you've got any positive stories, because
certainly,
if you get a group of people emailing you saying, "Oh, we've done this, let's get them all on a show and talk."
Absolutely. And as I said, the first letters, the ones to the school, they've got 5 days for those 4 letters to give you the information that you've asked for those 4 letters. The next ones are 10 days, but you can send all these at the same time. So if you sent them today, the maximum time you've got is going to be 15 days. But the school's information, they have to give you that within 1 week or 1 working week. So 5 days. Now, you've got to think, if next week they turn on and say, oh my God, they haven't done risk assessments, they haven't done this. Well, if they turn on and say that they've done them, I'll quite positively turn on and tell you I'm going to point to them that they're a liar. Because I know that they haven't been done. They haven't been done on any level. None of the risk assessments, none of the safety for the children over a long period of time, and of a VMF exposure specifically. And as I say, Lloyd's of London, the other thing I asked for is for the liability insurance to see if they cover EMF, which they don't. And Lloyd's of London categorically, point blank, refuse to do that in the schools. Why?
Brilliant, Andy. You guys watching, there's a hype button on YouTube. You might not know about it. Look for it. Click that. Click the like. Click the share. Subscribe. Comment, etc. And then go on to Andy's stuff. And good luck. Good luck with it all. Great to meet you, Andy. Gonna shoot.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Cheers,
Cheers.
Matt.
Take care.
Bye bye.